but Belgium, they must win in the final round of games, and they are taking on the Croatians. For Croatia, a point will do. And Morocco, whom Didi, you have been most impressed with, have you?
Yeah, they're in the strongest position now. Just said it in commentary that Croatia is in a good position, but they still have to avoid defeat in the last game. And I think the ones sitting pretty are the Moroccans. They play Canada. I feel that Canada ran a bit out of steam. Had a very hard and tough first game. Klaas told in the end today. And Croatia gave him the runaround, and they looked pretty tired towards the end. So I think Morocco will be quite happy playing Canada in the last game because they need a draw, but they should beat them.
Class is the word Didi used. How much class when you're looking at the other teams who will be hoping to go far in this tournament?
Yeah, I think we spoke about Croatia at the start in terms of will they have the legs, do they have players who can run in behind, but I think Modric, Brozovic and Kovacic in midfield really controlled the ball in there. They were very good. I think Modric is 37. We've obviously spoke about him so highly in the past, but he's just a player who just keeps on giving, and I think he's been brilliant for Croatia over the years, and the lads spoke about it in commentary as well. He plays for the team, and look, I think they really did show their class. I think Didi's right, Canada definitely ran out of steam a little bit. You can see they're a team built on kind of energy and trying to get in the face of the opposition, but I think Croatia's experience really shone through today.
The statement that they ran out of steam, does that make us have to put the Croatian performance in perspective a little bit? Because they did look good, didn't they?
Yeah, maybe more the Belgium performance in the first game. They were probably more energetic in the first game, but when you have to chase a game against Croatia, when they can keep the ball, that's their game. And you know, if you play keep ball with them, or if you put any team out of 32 and play keep ball, you probably put your money on the Croatians because they're the best at it. They're the masters of keeping the ball. And you know, if you're under pressure, if you don't know what to do with the ball, you just give it to Modric because he always finds a way out, and that's what they do. And in Kovacic, Brozovic, they've got technically wonderfully gifted players who just don't give the ball away, and that makes it so hard. And then you want, and if you don't go as a block, and if you've got one tired player, one is not going, all of a sudden the pressure eases again. And yeah, they just showed their class in the second half. They were far superior to the Canadian team. Credit to them. They did their utmost, played two very good games, but they just came up today against a team that, even though they're aging, they still got enough quality to to bring a game home as today. When they're winning, they won't be easy to play against.
Speaking of the aging, because we saw Modric a lot in those celebration pictures there, and Didi mentioned him, the influence that he had in that game, 37 years of age. I mean, you just have to sit back and appreciate something like that, don't you?
Yeah, he's a fantastic player. He has been for so many years now, and we spoke about him and the players he has to play with him at Real Madrid, but I think today he showed a little bit more in terms of keeping that ball in that midfield area. And as I said, I think the game, the way it went with Canada having to chase it a little bit, it kind of suited them in terms of keeping the ball, because as Didi says, Modric doesn't give away the ball too often, and as I said, Kovacic and Brozovic in beside him as well. The three of them in midfield, I think, were brilliant today.
Yeah, they obviously went behind very early on to Canada. Just a reminder for anybody who didn't see it, Canada looked in control for the first 20 minutes, but then Croatia, they just played their way in. They were 2-1 up come half-time, and then did they just control that second half? Yeah,
and experience told, because when you go behind so early, the nerves will start. They got a lot of stick after that first game where they didn't perform or didn't play well. But then they just came into the game and they knew, let them have the ball for the first 20 minutes. At some stage we come into it, and Kramaric is a wonderful finisher. We said it before. He's just a natural, a street player who, learned playing football on the streets, and he's technically perfect, wonderful player. And things just come natural when he's in the box, and he's not the quickest. But when he gets a chance in the box, he puts him away. And, the way he controls it here with his right foot, gets a bit fortunate that he puts it through the defender's legs. It was a wonderful finish. And the second one, Miller, who was excellent today, unfortunately with that mistake. And this is a great sign as well. This is what you want to see. 2v1 against the keeper. This ball has to be squared. Even if the guy who's got the ball here would score, this ball has to be squared. He's in a better position. He's got an open goal, Meyer. And he just felt a bit for the Canadians because up until then they gave a great fight to Croatia.
They did. Canada, they get their first goal ever at a World Cup finals, but they end up losing by 4-1. We saw Andrei Kamric's second half goal there, but overall, was he really the main threat up front for Croatia today? Because we did question what they might have to offer in the attacking third earlier on.
Yeah, I think he was brilliant. I think we've spoken about him before. He's not the type of player to run in behind, but when he gets the opportunity to get shots on goal, you can see this is the one that was disallowed for offside, but it's good feet. He finds the back of the net. He always finds a way to get there. And I think this goal here, we kind of talked about, we questioned Canada's defence, but he doesn't even have a look here. He hits it across goal. He knows where the goal is. It's a good finish. Perisic obviously playing a part as well. But I just think he's his all-round game today, and obviously he's proven that he can score goals here as well, which is important for Croatia going into the next game. And obviously if they get through into the knockout round, but I think he was overall really, really good today.
He's playing with Hoffenheim, Didi. He has an unbelievable Bundesliga record.
And he doesn't start every game, because sometimes when they do play away from home, when they have to, when they need a bit more pace in the team, he doesn't always start. But since 2015, he scored the second most goals behind Lewandowski, and he's just a natural finisher. And you know what he does, you can't really teach that, because either you've got it or you haven't got it. And that first goal he scored, as Steph said, he doesn't even get his head up. The ball gets played, he knows where the goal is, and he puts it right next to the post, so the keeper can't do anything about it. And in front of goal, I'd say as good as anyone.
OK, well, it's a big day for Croatia. They'll be hoping to have bigger ones to come in this tournament. Disappointment, though, for Canada. They are now out of the World Cup, despite looking impressive at times. But, of course, they've still no points on the board after 2 games. They did get their first ever goal in a World Cup tournament through Alphonso Davies at the start of this match. Their manager, John Herdman, went into this game not in the good books of the Croatians, and he is the man who finishes on the losing side. A tough day for John Herdman and the Canadians. What he said there about Croatia, though, was very interesting about their killers in transition. You had said earlier on, Croatia aren't going to score on the counter due to their lack of pace. So it was interesting that he says in transition that they are hugely dangerous.
Well, they were today, because Canada couldn't run anymore the last half hour. And if you play against a tired team, even the Croatians or some of the Croatians run away from their opponents. They do lack pace. I think in the latter stages of the tournament, if they do go through, which I think they will, I think in the latter stages it'll find them out. Because when you haven't got that threat going in behind, they're very good front runners. Very hard to peg back when they're ahead, because they keep the ball for fun. But I just feel that if you haven't got that out and out pace up top, it makes it very hard against, because we've seen some very physical teams so far. We've seen some very quick teams. And I don't think what they did 4 years ago, I don't think they'll be able to repeat it.
Now, of course, getting to a World Cup final is a huge feat to attempt, but by the sounds of things, Didier doesn't even think that they'll progress even close to that. Yeah,
I just think there'll be bigger tests, as Didier has said. I think we've talked about them all day in terms of their keeping the possession of the ball, and I think the way the game panned out, it did suit them a little bit better, but definitely think going forward, I think when you look at the other teams, the physicality they have, the pace, the power that they have in some of those teams, look at the likes of France and Brazil, I think it could be a different type of game against better opposition.
It's tough, and you do feel sorry for them. And not you looked at the first interview with John Herdman, and you felt the opening question saying, "Oh, look at you pushing the World Cup finalists so close." You felt that was really patronising question to ask. But Canada have shown flashes, but any top sports person knows it means nothing if you come away with defeats.
Yeah, and I think, look, Alphonso Davies, obviously he's one of their big stars, isn't he? He's a player that has that finishing quality, and he got the goal today, but I think overall when they look back at it, they just lack that little bit of quality in the final third. And I think, look, they've done really well. I think Herdman has done very well, obviously, in the qualifying. Canadian football has come on an awful lot since he's got involved, so I think they definitely have something to look forward to, but there's still parts of their game that they need to improve, and as I said, they just need that little bit more bit of quality, I think.
And the funny thing is, we talked up what an attacking team they had and the quality they had going forward as well. And the manager, in fairness, being a goal down at half-time, he made 2 substitutions, so he wasn't holding back by any means.
Yeah, and they had a very good chance straight after half-time, so they did have a go. They probably had to score. If they score there, maybe the tank keeps them going, or the energy keeps them going for a little bit longer. But it's a learning curve for them, because they've got quite a few young players, a lot of them, or most of them. All of them played the first World Cup. Obviously, they played in CONCACAF. They play against Mexico, US. They play against very good teams. But when you come to the world stage, it's a different game, and they would have learned an awful lot. And the other thing they probably needed in both games, you've got to believe you can do it. And I think that cost them probably more in the first game than today, because today, in the second half, or after 20 minutes, the last 70 minutes, they were outplayed by a very good team. I think in the first game they lacked belief. And then if you don't lose the first one, this will be a different game today, because they know regardless what happens, you've got a chance in the last game. It's about belief. But they would have learned an awful lot in these two games, and hopefully in the last one against Morocco, Alphonso Davies said they need 3 points. Don't think it's going to happen.
No, Morocco are looking very, very good at the moment. Just a reminder, this morning they upset some people's expectations of what might happen by beating Belgium by 2-0. Sassan Aboukal coming up with the goods.
Yeah, they're impressive, aren't they? They've been very good. We mentioned before this game today, obviously Croatia have shown us a little bit more, but Canada and Morocco look probably the two better teams within this group. I think they've definitely shocked Belgium today with that win, but I think it was a deserved win as well. I think the Belgians are definitely going to have to have a look at themselves going into that last game, because they were completely outplayed within the game.
I know, Didi, you didn't expect a whole lot from Belgium in this tournament anyway. But given what's happened this week, can you remember a tournament ever that had so many upsets?
Probably not, but I think it's good, because you don't know what's going to happen. If we don't know, or we don't want to see a tournament where you see the 8 groups and you say, well, these are the last 16, and we'll have, I'd say, at least 2, 3, maybe 4 teams in the last 16 we didn't expect. I found it very strange this week when De Bruyne was asked about his team's chances, and he said, well, I think 4 years ago was our chance. I think we're a bit too old now. I just wonder what rode him saying it, because as a teammate, you go, hang on a minute, you know, we're here, we've got a chance to finish, to get into the knockout stages. And in knockout football, you never know what's going to happen. You score an early goal, there's a booking, a sending off in the first 10, 20 minutes, and it can change the whole complexion of a game. So once you're in the knockout stage, I think anything is possible. I think any 16 will have some form of chance to lift the trophy. So I found it a very strange thing for him to say. Whether it had any impact today, I don't know. But I would think it certainly didn't help.
No, it is a very strange thing. And obviously they have Croatia coming up next. What way do you see that one going?
Yeah, I think I've seen quite a few people comparing his comments to Modric at 37. Obviously still carrying that Croatian team. It's going to be a difficult game for the Belgians. And as you said, Croatia probably just need a point as well. So it's going to be a tough game. I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think for me, Croatia today showed a little bit more quality. They showed what they can do when they get a good lead. So I think all pressure's going to be on Belgium coming into that game.
Do you think there's any chance that because sometimes footballers come out, they say one thing, but they're talking about something else in the background. Is there any chance that De Bruyne was just looking to dampen down expectations when he was saying that?
Don't think so, because he wouldn't have explained his comments to every member of the team, and I found it strange. And so far they haven't shown anything. You could say he spoke the truth because they showed their age in the first 2 games. No, it's not good, because there'll be people in the camp who say, hang on a minute, what are you talking about? We still, even though we may not be at our best anymore, but, you look at Modric, you look at Thiago Silva for Brazil, he's 37. He still does a job. And, I think tournament will be over for Belgium in a few days' time.
Well, there you go.